Saturday View on Midlands 103. With thanks to Lumclean Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcleanEnergy.com. Have your say. Call 0818 300 103. Text or WhatsApp your Saturday View to 083 3010 103.
Hello and a very good morning to you all. I'm Ronan Berry and you're very welcome to the now IMRO shortlisted Saturday View here on Midlands 103. Yes, we'll get that out of the way at the start of the show. Delighted to receive the news on Wednesday. The shortlist for the IMRO Radio Awards 2024 was announced, and 5 nominations for Midlands 103, including Midlands Today, Anne-Marie Kelly for a fantastic documentary she made, Peter Dunn for a documentary series he made, and also Anne-Marie being shortlisted for Music Broadcaster of the Year, Will for Midlands Today and Will and Sinead. So phenomenal achievement by the station, and it just kind of, as I say, it shows and showcases the great work that is going on, and people are working hard to constantly bring you the best content, the most cutting edge content, the most relevant, up-to-date stuff, and bring a bit of entertainment, a bit of joy, a bit of lightheartedness, as well as covering the really, really serious topics. So thank you to everybody, you as always, for listening. It is absolutely pointless and worthless without you listening, and to all the judges in the IMRO as well who have shortlisted us in those categories. It's a great achievement. We're very proud of it. Now we shall move on, because lots to get through this morning on Saturday View, including a journalist who, in the Irish Times this week, said should we begin to look at wind turbines as beautiful structures? And this is against the backdrop of what they represent and what they actually do and what they're replacing. But I can get a sense it could be slightly contentious. So if you have wind turbines in your backyard almost, or if they're in your view or from your house or you're looking at them every day, would you agree with that and concur that maybe we should look at them as beautiful, aesthetically pleasing structures? And this comes on the backdrop to against a Board Pleanála decision to uphold the refusal of planning for a wind farm in County Laois. Now, Minister of State Sean Fleming was one of the objectors to the project, and he'll be along too to talk about why he felt he needed to object to that. I think other councillors also objected to it. They had clear reasons, so Sean will put them to us later on. But join me on that conversation, 083 3010 103 across the morning. Also, with all the talk of tickets and concerts, and there's been so many this year already, Taylor Swift, Coldplay ongoing at the minute, a certain band from Manchester trending at present, and one thing you can guarantee, if a big concert's announced, ticket prices go through the roof, hotel prices go absolutely bonkers, and even one big Irish operator has been accused of kind of trying to trick some customers basically by cancelling bookings, saying it was a systems error, and then trying to maybe let them rebook again. And there was lots of accusations that was in order to increase the prices. Now, that has not been proven, but that was the speculation. But it's happening across Dublin in particular. But in Midlands, guest house operator has come up with a really interesting idea, and it's something he has kind of road tested already, and it actually makes an awful lot of sense, and there's great value to be gotten by somebody staying in the Midlands to attend a concert up in Dublin. Phenomenally great value actually, so you'll hear a little bit about that too. Also, I'll be joined a little bit later on by Shannon Fogarty. She'll give us the latest from the Board Namona Tullamore Harriers Half Marathon, which the athletes took off about 13 minutes ago at this stage, so we wish them all the very best. I better say a massive best of luck to my own wife Mary Berry and to a good friend Pascal Nocton, who are running this morning. They probably won't be listening to me now because they're running, but best of luck to them and everybody else that's taking part in that. That and lots of other stuff to get into. I'm going to just touch on one or two news items to begin, because huge news around the Midlands, and particularly in Tullamore this week, was the shock announcement of the pending closure of Cardinal Health in the town. It implies 300 to 350 people, and will be basically operations will be shut down on a phased basis, culminating in a full closure by around March 2026. It's a huge shock. I have been in that facility in the past in a different capacity, and huge amounts of people there working in many highly skilled and semi-skilled jobs. It has provided great employment over 40 years in the town, and when you walk through that factory, first thing that greets you actually is a sense of just friendliness, really friendly, open, hard-working culture in there, clean room environment, very nice environment to work in, but you see people that you've met from all different parts of your life and different aspects, and you kind of realise that families have used that over the years. So it's a huge shock, and if anybody out there listening works there and would like to send me a message and tell me how you're feeling at the minute, I'd love you to do that. 083 3010 103 is the text or WhatsApp number, 0818 300 103 on the phone. And I can keep that anonymous too. I understand it could be a sensitive situation given the news only broke this week. But if you'd like to share that, I can share that with the listeners too and just let them know how you feel, because it has been greeted with shock, as I say. And Tullamore Chamber says it expects the closure to have a huge knock-on effect on the town. President Anthony Hannafy says it's shocking news.
We've been pushing the idea for a number of years to bring more itineraries to the town, and it's something they haven't been doing. The other thing we've been pushing them for a long time is a second business park in the town. The biggest fear we had was basically one of the companies in there wanting to expand and no room for them. Well, we've been pushing them for the last, I suppose, 6 or 7 years to actually get to buy more land, and really hope now at this stage to do.
Absolutely, and that's again Anthony Hannafy, the President of Tullamore Chamber, kind of outlining their concerns. Enterprise Minister in Longford Westmeath TD Peter Burke says he'll be trying to secure alternative employment for the workers.
My primary concern on foot of this morning's announcement is with the workers and their families. I will do all I can working with the IDA and through the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment to try and secure alternative employment for all the workers. I do know we have significant investment in upskilling so many workers right across the country.
And of course, the business closures affect sometimes the very large business, which is often greeted with huge shock and dismay and disdain. But it's affecting, and it has been on a weekly basis, many of the small businesses around the Midlands too. But Peter Burke has also said that small family businesses are most important to him, and that due to rising costs of doing business and the changing habits of consumers, Jasmine in Mullingar, Centrepoint Autos in Athlone and Behan's Fruit and Veg in Athlone and Moat Motors have all decided to shut their doors in recent weeks. And the Longford Westmeath TD says he's intent on improving the trade environment for Midlands businesses.
Now through this budget, I'm really focusing on a package for our SME sector to try and lower their cost base. But not only that, to try and change the model. That means trying to enhance training, supports for wage costs. It means also trying to change the model they operate under in terms of energy efficiency grants. I think we need to really do so much more in that space, because if you have a position where you're taking 1,500 or 1,000 euro less off a business per month, that makes them more sustainable into the future.
But if we look at some numbers, not just behind those businesses, are we really and truly, is it ever any doubt that we're living in a two-tiered society? Because I know somebody who last night managed to get a code for the pre-sale for Oasis tickets. They managed to get 4 tickets, €176 per ticket for pitch tickets for standing at a concert. Now, even chatting Aidan Barry earlier, I said I felt that was extortionate, particularly when you think it's 2 working class guys from Manchester and very much always appreciative of where they came from. Aidan has just updated me there. There has been an update on the Irish Times website to say that thousands and thousands upon fans are left very disappointed at not even getting onto the Ticketmaster website to get tickets, but now reports that some tickets for the pitch have gone for as much as €400. That sounds like absolute insanity at the minute. And what happens if more dates are announced and they go back to general sales? It really is crazy. And myself and Aidan were just discussing that on his show before I came on, to say that, are we getting to the stage where it's going to be €500-600 a ticket? Based on that, it's going to be much, much more. It's going to exclude so many people, never mind not getting through a queuing system. It's going to exclude so many people from getting access to concerts. It is getting a bit ridiculous, quite frankly, isn't it? And I think God knows how far that's going to go. I joined the queue this morning just to have a look and see. I was almost 140,000 in the queue. An hour or two later, we were 88,000 in it. So it's not going to happen. You're not going to get tickets that way. But then today, the Irish Times are also publishing 14,429. What's that number? The amount of people who are currently homeless in the country. So there we go. There's definitely a two-tiered society becoming more and more apparent as well. But again, I invite you to give me your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings on that. But this morning we're going to start on looking at mental health, and particularly trying to take action and get up and do something to raise funds, to raise awareness and get mental health support. Because if we take even some of those numbers, like the number of homeless people, absolutely, undoubtedly creates mental health challenges and mental health issues, for people who maybe are stuck living in accommodation that's not fit for size or not in the location that they want. They might have had to move kids out of school, could be living in a hotel room for a number of years, whatever it might be. It's a staggering number of people this day and age. But the focus on mental health is one that, unfortunately, no matter what happens, more focus has to be put on it. I'll take you back to just under a year ago when a number of people, quite a large number of people from around the Mullingar area, including the well-known singer Brezzy, undertook a challenge called the Rising Challenge 2023. It was a nice and simple one. They kayaked the entire length of the River Shannon through all the lakes, documented their journey, raised huge monies for A Lust for Life, which is a charity that's set up to support early prevention mental health programmes in schools. It's aimed at teaching children how to enhance and protect their mental health. It was a gruelling challenge last year, and I spoke to Ray Carlin from Lakeland Kayaks and Skipjack in Mullingar about it, just to kind of plot their journey. Brezzy also spoke to Will Faulkner. Well, the guys are back this year, but not only are they just back and still probably licking their wounds and sore limbs from last year, they've actually extended the challenge. So last year they kayaked the entire length of the River Shannon. This year they're going to do that. Then they're going to cycle from Limerick down to Carrauntoohil. That's a 160 kilometre cycle. And then they're going to hike up Carrauntoohil, Ireland's highest peak. The total distance for the challenge will be 393 kilometres. Ray joins me on the phone now. Ray, I'm going to start with why.
Hi, Ronan. How are things? Good to chat to you. You can hear me okay? Anyway.
Absolutely, Ray. Yeah, work away. Yeah, it's a gruelling one again. It was some achievement last year. Why extend it and effectively double it?
Well, again, when we came up with this idea last year, the main purpose was, of course, because Lust for Life desperately need these funds because they offer these courses into schools for free. They're paying the top-class psychologists to draw up these programs for the schools. So to basically, they were struggling, not that they're struggling, but any charity that needs funding like that, you need a bit of creativity, you need something that has a bit of a wow factor, something that has a reach, something that will engage the public so that they can get behind it and actually support. And so we felt that last year was a success, and we felt that we done it quite naively. We done it on the backs of ourselves, and this year with the charity so much behind us and the wider team so much behind us that we feel that there's an opportunity here to double down on what we've done last year and to shout louder and to get bigger and better and wider amount of people's eyes on this event this year. So we've added the addition of the cycle, of course, just to kind of what that does with the cycle and the climb is it makes it more accessible to the wider public to join us on that day. Because of safety standards and stuff and everything, there's only a limited amount of people and reach that we could bring on the Shannon, for example. There's a lot of insurances, a lot of safety factors when you're coming to the likes of Lough Derg, Lough Allen, Lough Ree. So with the more kind of the more accessible cycling and climbing the Carrauntoohil on the 15th of September, we feel that the wider public can get involved. Even in their own area, they can sign up a GoFundMe page and do a rising event in their own community. Get their friends, get their families out, get their clubs, and get involved and rise up with us on the September the 15th.
And have you many of the crew from last year back on board?
Yeah, so we pretty much have the OGs, as we call them, the original gang are all on board. And the reason we went with that is because just it makes things simpler from a logistics perspective, from a safety perspective, to have all the guys back on board. And they feel that they want to give it a bigger shot this year again. Now, obviously, with that, you have the limitations, of course, for from a fundraising perspective of all the guys going back to the same pond again, essentially for fundraising. So we've recruited 3 or 4 new people, excellent additions to the group in Mazer, the really well-known artist in Dublin, and his wife Dee, and we've a guard, he's an armed response guard from Mayo who actually deals with the effects of mental health on a daily basis, in the sense of going out to domestic violence issues and stuff like this. So there's the motivation there behind the whole team, and those guys are really important to us this year because they bring a new reach, they bring new eyes on the event as well.
Absolutely. No, it's a huge, I know you had a hugely successful one last year in terms of the fundraising with it. You're back again to try and even better that again, because that money is making a real difference. It's going directly into providing those services as well. You're obviously open for sponsorship too. How can people kind of find out more about it, Ray?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's multiple ways of sponsoring or getting involved. Like from a personal perspective, like we all GoFundMe pages ourselves. You can sign up there or donate a penny if you want, €1. Be great. Any of the guys there, we have GoFundMe pages. If you search for my name, Ray Carlin, on GoFundMe, you'll find it. If you search for The Rising on GoFundMe, you'll find multiple pages there of all the participants. Also from a commercial perspective, there's always room there to get involved. Like you get a shout out across social social media, of course, like Brezzy, of course, is a huge reach on social media. The charity is a huge reach on social media as well. So there is incentives there for businesses to get involved. We'd be going down through all the towns along the Shannon. We'd be going from Cavan right down to Kerry. So there's a lot of counties we're going through there, shouting and talking, and we have events where we'll be where brands that are involved will be exposed as well. But look, I know, but even from all businesses are so aware of mental health these days as well. And I think there is a huge focus nationally about it now, but sometimes the focus is too much on the cure as opposed to the preventative measures. And what Lust for Life are doing is they're obviously getting it in early. They're helping the teachers. The last thing the teachers need is more responsibility, more people poking at them saying, oh, you need to be focusing on mental health. The teachers have enough stuff to do. So with Lust for Life, having the professionals involved and offering these free courses that run themselves, essentially, they're very intuitive. They're video-based programs, and obviously the teachers need to get up to scratch in them, but it does limit the teachers' requirement for further education and input, which obviously makes things easier to implement across the schools, which is a key thing. You don't want any kind of barriers to entry, essentially. So the focus here is to make it as easy as possible for schools to have this, because look, you even spoke about homelessness there before, and a lot of issues, mental health, start young. It's not going to solve all the issues, of course. Mental health is a complex subject, but certainly in a lot of situations, if things can be educated and identified at a younger age, it can help the pressures on the system at a later stage. And that's the key thing for Lust for Life. And as I said, all these courses are given into schools for free. Any school can get involved, primary or secondary. They're in 40% of the primary schools in Ireland at the minute. Their goal is in 2025, at the end of 2025, to be in all the schools. Any school can get involved. It's worth doing. It does help. You'll see the students just thriving. They'll do better potentially in exams. They'll be more aware of what's going on in their bodies, in their minds. You see sport and performance increases. All this kind of stuff when the education is there for it, and the data is there to back all that up as well.
And I see the vision on a Lust for Life's website is to create a generational circuit breaker in how mental health is discussed and treated in Ireland. So look, hats off to you all again. It's a huge physical challenge, but again, what a great way to raise awareness and just keep that conversation going. And the fact you're spreading that further across the country now, it's highly commendable. Ray, Brezzy and all the team there, the very best of luck with that, and look forward to following your updates on social media.
Yeah, keep tuned. Look, all our social medias will be trying to vlog as much today as possible if the weather allows, of course. And tune in. It'll be surely some unexpected situations tend to arrive in these challenges, and we'll be vlogging it all. And thanks for the exposure, Ronan.
Not at all. Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Ray, as well. And actually, if you watched their stuff from last year when they were crossing some of the lakes, the current in the lakes was incredible. You wouldn't think it in some of the lakes in the middle of the country, but it's phenomenal. But I want to get a couple of your texts there for a second. Thank you. Loads of you texting in, talking about the IMRO shortlisting and talking about how great it is and congratulating us here at the station. One or two not so complimentary and saying that, you can't say what you want anymore. But this isn't a national broadcaster. We're not paid by anybody. Nobody ever said we can't say what we want on air. If you want to come on, 0818 300 103, give us a call, we'll have a chat. Nobody ever said you can't say what you want on this show. It's up to you. Offer is out there. I won't extend it out anymore after that. But I got a fantastic text. I've one or two actually about wind turbines already. I'll get to them after the break. But somebody said, happy to let you know that most motors are due to reopen under new management on Monday, September the 2nd. And they also said they were number 291,467 in the queue for Oasis tickets, was online for 2 hours, just logged off, and I had gone down to number 207,396. Thank you so much for that text. First part of that is brilliant news. Well done to everybody involved and fantastic to see.
Saturday View on Midlands 103 with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com.
I mentioned at the start of the show we'll be discussing wind turbines, and Sive O'Neill wrote in Irish Times during the week, and the headline of the article was, maybe we need to learn to see wind turbines as beautiful. Now she goes on to kind of detail that a little bit further as to why she came to that view and give her reasons behind it, and she'll join us very shortly to take us through that article. But of course it is a topic that is ever present in the Midlands. So interestingly, I went online today to a gov.ie website, and you can download a map of all the wind farms across the country. And what jumped out at me straight away was the Midlands actually isn't as overpopulated as you might think. There's actually other parts of the country, particularly down in Munster, that are much more heavily populated with wind farms. It's a graphic we might try and stick up online a bit later on. But that's not to say that there's not loads of planning applications in for wind turbines, and the landscape in the Midlands has been utterly changed over the past 5 to 10 years as well. But in Laois recently at Coolglass Wind Farm, An Bord Pleanála rejected the planning application they'd put in to construct 13 wind turbines in the county. The turbines were to be 180 metres high, located between the Swan, Wolfhill, Fossey and the Timahoe areas across several townslands, right across that section of the county. Now, some members of Laois County Council had strongly objected to the proposal in 2023, and another person who was opposed to the idea of the wind farm was Sean Fleming, of course. Sean Fleming is the TD for Laois, Offaly, and the Minister of State at the Department of Foreign Affairs. Sean joins us now. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Ronan.
Sean, what was the basis of your objection to the Coolglass wind farm?
Okay, just one little comment in relation to your introduction, and you're right. We do have less wind farms, in some of the Midland counties than in other regions. And the reason for that is totally obvious. There's more wind around the coastal counties. If you're Cork, Kerry or Galway or Donegal, there is more wind. And the Midlands is slightly more flat than some of those counties that have major high mountains. And because we're further inland, the wind dissipates as it comes across the country. How often do we see big, waves powering in, whether it's Galway or Wexford or Tullamore? So that's one of the actual logical reasons why there's less in the Midlands, because believe it or not, it mightn't feel like it at the time, but we do get less wind in the coastal counties. So be that as it may, I just wanted to explain that. And
that leads me to another point then, because I know with this application there were 180 metre high turbines. Yeah. Now the first one built in Laois was in 2010 at Gurtaheil, and they had a hub height of 80 metres, and I know that's a wind farm that you were very much in support of back then, but there's clearly a big difference there in terms of the structure to start with.
There is, and they've got bigger, and I know some people complain about the height of them. That's not my particular problem, because they're more economical and you need less of them if they're taller than a number of smaller ones. So that's the way the industry has moved, and I know some people won't agree with me on that. But the main point is the higher ones, you need less of them because they're more powerful and they generate more energy. But that's not the reason. It wasn't the height of them I objected to, as was the location. And very important for your listeners to know what happens. And we all support renewable energy. We're making great progress on it. As you said, I've supported one already in Laois or on other occasions as well. But in relation to this one, the way the system works, because everyone agrees there has to be proper planning for this. So the Laois County Council, when they're doing their last development plan, employed independent consultants to come up with a report as to which areas of the county would be suitable for wind farms, which would not be suitable for wind farms, and which could be considered an in-between. And they came up with that map, and it's a public document. So what happened is the area that we've just referred to, the Coolglass Wind Farm, is specifically in an area that's designated as not suitable. So the council agreed with that after public consultation. The independent planning regulator looked at the county development plan, and he recommended a few changes of zoning around Portlaoise, but was happy with this, happy with everything else. So he endorsed it, and it went to the department who made the ministerial directive in relation to a few cases of zonings in Portlaoise. They're the only problem, so he was happy with everything. So local democracy, independent planning regulator, and national democracy came up with the agreed proposal that this was an area not suited. So it begs the question, why did Coolglass come in here knowing everybody in the planning system in Ireland has said this is an area not suitable? And that begs the question. So this is a company, I presume they're owned by some Swedish outfit. So what tends to happen is they feel Ireland needs to increase their wind energy, and they came willy-nilly, and they're probably doing it in other parts of the country, anywhere they feel they can buy sites for these, they put in their planning application, whether it's deemed suitable or not. And that's why I was very unhappy with this application, because they're flying in the face of the government, they're flying in the face of Laois County Council, flying in the face of local people who contributed to the development plan, and they knew before they started. So that this is deemed an area not suitable. So why didn't they go to an area that is deemed suitable, and at least they would have had a fair shot at getting their planning? So that was my main argument in my written submission. the one thing I do want to say, I went to a big meeting in the Swan there some time ago in relation to this before the closing date, and the committee there were superb. Like, I've attended a lot of meetings in the county, but they were totally on top of the ins and outs and the details of wind farms and wind turbines and renewable energy. And the committee in the Swan put in tremendous objections themselves based on the logical things that I've just been talking about. And then when it went to Board Pleanála, it'd be very hard for Board Pleanála to overturn the council. They sometimes do that, but to overturn the planning regulator to be slow, and to overturn the government decision that this was deemed an area unsuitable. So I don't even know why they put in the application. And I've called on them, go away and don't come back to this area.
Yeah, and you're quoted as saying that basically that they're pack their bags up and go away, and you could even say maybe stop wasting time then for the likes of Bord Pleanála and the planning authorities. If wind farms, say, are not suitable for the area, would something like a solar be considered again to contribute to creating more renewable energies?
Yes, and their proposal for their proposal for solar energy farms covering hundreds of acres in different parts of Laois, at the gestation place. I've been at one or two meetings where it's being considered, and definitely that's an area where sheep and things can continue to graze under the farms, under the solar panels, because they're a number of feet off the ground. You won't be able to have cows and horses on it or anything like that, but you can still get some agriculture out of the land, and you're getting the solar power, and it doesn't have the visual impact as looking up in a high area and looking at the wind turbine. Now, some people think they're nice, so, it's a matter of taste. So, that's up to some people like them and some people don't. Now, I know people won't want too many solar panels either, but look at, that's what the planning process is there for. Lots of people put in planning applications for houses, other people don't want them there, and that's why we have an independent planning process to make a proper judgment on it in relation to suitability for an area.
And when you mentioned that some people think they're nice, this kind of really links me to an article that featured in this week's Irish Times. And Sive O'Neill is an independent climate and environmental researcher, and she wrote this article. And basically the headline is, maybe we need to learn and see wind turbines as beautiful. Sive, very good morning. Now, you're talking to an audience right across the Midlands counties who know what a turbine looks like as well. Why did you write this article?
Well, thanks very much for having me on, Ronan. And I have to apologise at the outset because I've only got a couple of minutes. I am on the road to a farming festival in Tipperary, so I don't have much time.
Perfect, no bother.
But what inspired the article was the fact that I think when communities are lodging objections to wind farms, environmental objections and concerns about environmental impacts are mixed in with concerns about visual impact. But visual impact is much more subjective, and many people do appreciate the grace and the beauty and the fantastic engineering feats that wind turbines represent. They really are a feat of modern engineering, and that's one of the reasons why, as the Minister was explaining, they've been able to become so big, because the strength of the towers and so on and the blade technology has advanced so much in recent years. And it's quite extraordinary how much power these machines can generate. And it's renewable power. It's not using fossil fuels. Now, our policies in Ireland require us to achieve an 80% renewable electricity rate by 2030. And that's going to require local authorities to be much more permissive towards onshore wind farms and solar farms than they have been. And what alarms me about this particular case that we've been talking about is that while originally the county development plan in Laois was zoned in a way that the Cool Glass project would have been permitted, despite the description of the Minister there, the reality is that the councillors, in a very open process, deliberately changed the county development plan over the years leading to 2022 to effectively stall and block further wind farms. And that's clear from the correspondence between the County Council, the Office of the Planning Regulator and the Minister over the years before the plan was adopted. And basically, there's very few areas of the county that are zoned as preferable in comparison to the original plan 10 years ago. And that means that Cool Glass, which would have been originally in a preferred area, suddenly found itself in an area that was zoned unsuitable. But in fact, it's not unsuitable for any, what I would deem as objective environmental reasons, and it doesn't impact on any protected views. The county development plan does actually set out where views must be protected from, like Dunamaze, for example. That's an obvious one. And the reality is that a lot of the concerns people have about wind farms often evaporate once they're built. They become quite popular tourist attractions. People go and have picnics under them.
Well, literally, I know around the Midlands there's park runs that take place on wind farms, that type of thing as well. It'd be interesting now if, again, if people would concur with you that once they're erected, that kind of maybe that concern disappears. I've had a text from a listener who says, I'm originally from Yorkshire, near the Dales. Don't ask me how they got the OK. I'm sure they're talking about a wind farm there. They go on to say they built a massive wind farm. However, the uprights were brown, the blades were green. They basically look from a distance like trees. Wasn't perfect, but at least they tried. So there are alternatives there maybe to try and appease the aesthetic side of it. Do you think is that something that could come into play?
I think there's lots of different things that can be done. I mean, the careful design of the turbines and the careful layout is extremely important from the point of view of visual impacts and noise and anything else, flicker. Those kind of things really bother local communities. But if the setback distances that are set out in county development plans are completely unrealistic, given that we have such a spread out rural population, especially in the Midlands, then effectively councillors who are setting out policies like that are trying to ban them all together. And that is completely inconsistent with national policy. Now, the Minister voted for the carbon budget. He voted for the climate law. He accepts the national policy as a member of the government. And the reality is that local authorities that are putting these kind of restrictions in place are acting in contravention of national policy.
Well, I'll invite Minister Fleming to come back in on that one if you're still there, Minister Fleming.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to hear what he has to say.
Absolutely, yeah. He's still on the line here, Si. Yeah, thank you.
I have to apologise, Ronan. I'm going to have to head away now. So I'll listen on to the discussion, and thank you for inviting me.
Not at all. Thank you, Si O'Neill. Minister Fleming, please, you can have a response to that there.
Yeah, no, and look, I utterly respect what Si has said. We do need more renewable energy, be it solar or be it wind. I did say one of the reasons we have less of it in Laois is because it's not a windy county. We're the most inland county furthest from the seas and the oceans where the wind comes from by and large. So that is going to be just a statistical fact, not just now, but in 30 years' time. And then we have the option of the solar farms. More of them will come on stream. But she is right. There has been a reduction in areas, but while she said the council voted against something that was against national policy, the independent planning regulator when it went to him, he accepted the change, and when it went to the minister, he accepted the change. So the change brought about by Laois County Council was accepted ultimately. It wasn't a starting point, but when the plan got finished, both the regulator and the minister did agree with the decision of Laois County Council, because there were a few bits of the plan they didn't agree with, and they made some changes, and they issued the directive to ensure that happened, whether the local councillors like it or not. So the minister has used the power in several counties, including in Laois, to override local, mainly zoning decisions, as it was in this particular case, and some wording in relation to renewable energy. But it didn't choose to overrule this particular decision. So we've accepted that is part of where we're at, and that has been accepted across the board. But I do respect everything Si was saying, because if you have to have all the points of view in the debate, and I fully respect everything she's been saying as well.
Absolutely. Minister Sean Fleming, thank you so much for that this morning. Hugely appreciated as always.
Thank you.
And a few texts have come in there from people as well, around the wind turbines. That one listener has asked, what they'd like to know is what impact do the ocean wind farms have on the effect of the likes of whales, dolphins and marine life? Well, I think as Laois and as Minister Fleming points out, it's doubly landlocked. I think it's the most landlocked county in Ireland. So we're probably not in a position to comment on that, even though the texter has come in from Mount Mellick. But let's have a look into that maybe on a different episode of Saturday View and see what effects they know, because there's plenty of wind farms already in the oceans and around the world too, so we can certainly look into that for you. But somebody else texted again regarding the wind turbines as well, and in terms of what the look and the visual aesthetics as well. They said wind farms are hugely ugly structures that are, to be honest, an absolute eyesore. Why can't they be painted, maybe abstract designs? At least try and then turn them into works of art that would be pleasing to the eye. Thanks for your text, Dave. And as that texter that was originally from Yorkshire has said, they tried that with kind of brown stems and green blades on them to try and help them blend in a little bit too. But absolutely look at it, and there is a need obviously to kind of get towards that renewables, but it's finding that balance is always critical as well. A final text actually on a subject we mentioned earlier, the closure or the pending closure of Cardinal Health. A listener has texted in again, just talking, kind of referring back to that as well, and it says, huge concern, and rightly so, over job losses at Cardinal Health. Lots of activity by politicians, etc., crying out for new companies to take over the facility. Fair enough, but surely over the last few years, thousands of jobs were lost in Bordnamona and ESB in this area, and very few replaced. That came in from Sean in Edenderry. Thank you for that, Sean. And again, if you want to join that conversation, 083 3010 103, text or WhatsApp 0818 300 103. After the break, we're going to look at a really interesting and viable alternative than extortionate hotel prices for big concerts up in Dublin.
Saturday View on Midlands 103 with thanks to Lumclune Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumclunenergy.com.
Edward has sent a message to say there is no need for wind farms in the Midlands. Put them out on the west coast where the wind is. Sounds very sensible to me, actually. Yeah, let us know what you think. 083 3010 103, 0818 300 103. But one thing, I suppose, the morning, many of us were probably had a fair idea we mightn't get Oasis tickets, then probably surprised by how far back in the queue we were. But one thing we know for sure in this country, if a big band announces a tour, there'll be a big clamour about, will there be extra dates, will there be tickets, how much will tickets be? As I said at the start of the show, €176 last night for the pre-sale tickets to stand on the pitch to watch Oasis. Madness, I thought. We're hearing reports now that some tickets for the pitch are gone up as far as €300 to €400. The other thing you can guarantee is hotel prices will be gone through the roof if there's even any rooms available now. If you were travelling from Cork or maybe from Donegal or the bottom end of Wexford or the far top of Antrim up near Ballycastle, how much would you pay to go and see Oasis then? You could be paying a couple €100 per ticket. You could be paying a couple of €1,000 maybe to stay in a hotel room. Crazy stuff altogether. Is there alternatives? Well, absolutely there is. Because one thing we forget here in the beautiful Midlands is we're very central. We're quite close to Dublin. And we're a considerable distance from Cork or Kerry or Donegal or Ballycastle, but we could be a great kind of not even a halfway point, but a three-quarter way point for some people. And Darren Joyce is the owner of the gorgeous Harbour Master House in Shannon Harbour, and he has a great idea, and he's done some research onto this as well. Good morning, Darren.
Morning, Barry. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Darren, there was another big concert announced for next year. There's going to be the huge clamour as well. You have a really interesting offer that you can do for people, and you've done some number crunching on this. Take us through what it is.
I did. Well, I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were talking about all these hotel prices just quadrupling and, nearly sixfold. And, I'm kind of a little bit sick of it now at this stage. I think a lot of people won't return to Ireland when they get gouged like that, and I think it's a bad reflection. But look, we're in the Midlands, and we can offer people from as far down south as they are, stay in the Midlands. They can stay with us. We want 10 people. We can fit 12, but 10 people is fine. And we have a bus organised, so we can transfer you from Shannon Harbour to Croke Park and back. Stay a night here, have a lovely breakfast. You could even have a lovely lunch at McIntyre's across the road, all for 150 a head.
Wow. That is, you're talking really a fraction of what it could be. Any chance in the future you might be able to go on the actual, get onto a boat and bring them to Dublin? That'd be some offer.
Well, there you go. That might take a few days, but yeah, absolutely. And Shannon Harbour is a beautiful spot too. It's a real hidden gem. And the Greenway has just opened, which is fantastic. So we're getting a lot of cyclists and walkers. And, you can just grab a bike here and cycle away up to as far as Loughborough or Tullamore and come back. And, you have a lovely time. And dinner in McIntyre's is lovely over there. It's only 100 metres from us.
That's it. And if ever there was a hidden gem, I think Shannon Harbour is exactly that. Is this something, though, that you've done for people in the past? Have you had people book in, coming quite a long distance to get that bit closer to Dublin?
Yeah, we've had couples that would stay with us from Cork. Not too many, but from Cork, and they would go to the concert and drive down and stay in the Midlands. It's kind of only an hour and a half from Dublin, so and that makes their journey the next day a little bit shorter. Because people do get tired when they're driving and dancing away at a great concert.
I can recall being at an Offaly Cork game in Dublin in the late 90s, and just in a casual conversation with somebody in Dublin, and we asked them did it take them long to get there, and they told us that when they got to Mitchelstown they were halfway to Dublin. They lived that far down into west rural Cork, so when we think of that, we are blessed here in the Midlands for getting access to concerts, be it Dublin or Galway or even down to Kilkenny or Dublin, or Cork. We're not that far away from everywhere. So
no, absolutely. And before I actually made the kind of announcement, I think it was News Talk I put the text on, but I had rang the local minibus company, and I got a price, and I think it's very fair, and I just think people are getting absolutely gouged in Dublin, when it comes to concerts. I think it's all wrong. Their costs don't change. You'd understand maybe 20% or something like that, but their costs don't change on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, and you'd imagine basic economics would suggest if somebody goes up and stays in your hotel at a normal price, you would probably might consider it to return again then with the family for a getaway.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you're being gouged, you're not exactly going to return. But I know that a lot of the places in Dublin will get it hard pressed to beat the offering that the Harbour Masters House have there. And I know it's a relatively new development there for yourself, and it's something I think we'll explore in the business show in time. But I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think get it out there. And I think there's many people listening across the Midlands who could do similar, even in in their B&Bs, in their smaller hotels or guest houses. And I think it's worth putting out there, and that's what we need: a bit of creativity, a bit of innovation, and stop the gouging. But for now, Darren, thank you so much for that. We'll talk to you again shortly on Midland.
Thanks a million.
No problem at all. And we're just going to wrap up now very shortly. We're going to get a quick update on the Boardnamona Tullamore Harriers half marathon as well. But one or two quick texts come in. Someone said, when I was talking to Minister Sean Fleming, said they would love to ask him about the waste of money on the big stone outside the library in Portlaoise. And it says, especially when we look at homeless figures, well, it's an interesting question. Maybe we'll put that to somebody again as well. Somebody else said about wind turbines, suggested they're blue to blend in with the sky. In South Africa, they made the mobile mast look like palm trees. And my aunt, who is a botanist, driving on the day, said, oh my gosh, don't know the name of that palm. Well, the laugh we had when we told her it was a mast. Yeah, there's some of those I think have appeared in Ireland in forest areas. But anyway, options, but I suppose when you're up at 180, 200 metres then it becomes very complex as well. But anyway, you could be one of the lucky few who's running in the Tullamore Harriers Boardnamona half marathon at the minute. They're well underway now. They're probably about 55 minutes in. Midlands 103, Shannon Fogarty is, I don't know whether she's running now. We'll know if she's out of breath. Shannon, how are you doing?
I'm not running, Ronan. I can't promise I'm not running.
Well, what's happening at the minute?
Well, I am joined by John Riley, who's the head of renewable energy for Boardnamona. What does this event mean to Boardnamona?
Well, first of all, to say we're absolutely delighted to be here, and it's great to be in the Midlands on a beautiful summer, the tail end of summer. But I think for us, what's striking for me is these are the types of events that Boardnamona wants to support. This event, the Harriers, the whole piece today is embedded in the community, and you can clearly see that. I suppose the pride that the people of Tullamore have and the Harriers have in the event. I mean, the numbers, close to 1,400 people. And again, standing at the start line today and looking at the vests from all over the country. So people have travelled from everywhere to be here this morning. That's an absolute credit to everybody involved. And we are truly delighted to be involved with the event.
And it's amazing, yeah, because you're 3 years with Tullamore Harriers for this event, and it's absolutely incredible, and it's great to have you on board with it, and I really appreciate you coming in and having a quick chat with me. We are running out of time, so I will have to throw it back over to Ronan.
Absolutely, Shannon, just make sure
the finish line.
And make sure John signs you up for next year. That's the one thing I want to say. And thanks a million, Shannon. Thanks a million, John, as well.
I'll do it next year. And thanks, Ronan.
Congrats, because I'm assuming the first people home won't be too far away at this stage, such as the pedigree of the Boardnamona Tullamore Harriers half marathon. One or two more texts in around wind farms. Somebody has texted and said a wind farm costs millions and millions, if not billions, to set up. If that money was used to install a mini turbine or solar panels in every house, we would basically generate enough energy to run the house ourselves without the need to have massive farms in the first place. Really interesting concept, yeah. Put the money out there. Let's retrofit the houses. Let's put solar panels on. Let's put heat pumps in. Imagine if electricity was free, which it could be. Imagine the impact that would have on our lives. Because it's probably, the single biggest cost, sometimes running a house, utility bills. Imagine if that was free, how different society could and might be. Interesting topic. Nice one to end the show on for today. Thank you very much for that text as well. But yeah, lots of you getting involved, bringing that conversation around wind farms as well. Somebody else's text actually back their thing around the hotel saying, those hotels were kept open during COVID. They should be made give back money they got. That comes in from Moss and Kinnity. Interesting point. They were supported, yeah. Maybe give back some of that and give back to people. But yeah, we need to do something, don't we, to stop this bloody gouging when it comes to big concerts as well. Never mind ticket prices going up and up and up and up. It's becoming ridiculous. Anyway, time for me to go. Thank you for listening as always. Big thanks to Nelly for helping put it all together today. Tony Christie is here next with Feel Good Saturday. I'll talk to you all on Tuesday evening on Taking Care of Business.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com. Midlands 103.